Well, it's another beautiful day to discuss, debate, and talk about trending national stories. We brought you the headline news at 7 o'clock. Of course, every single morning we keep you abreast of what's happening around the country. And at 8 o'clock, we'll come back to discuss, debate, and talk about them. Welcome to the headline news analysis this lovely Wednesday morning, the 13th of August, 2025. My name is Adedayo, Adeyemi.
And I'm Danielle. Shitta-Bey. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us on the headline news analysis. Good morning to you, Nicholas.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Well, I'm fine.
All right, that's great to hear. The views to be expressed is not in any way the position of FlowFM 92.7 or the staff therein, but as expressed by in-house analyst Nicholas Uwerunonye. And as usual, we'll be streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook this morning at FlowFM 927. So you can get on any of this app and get in on the live action happening in the studio right now. We'll get into the conversation. This is where you get to debate and comment on any of the news stories that were brought to you at 7. We'll bring up the news stories, and then you can call us on 0807-777-9927. Again, 0807-777-9927. You can send us a message on WhatsApp as well and make a comment on any of the news stories.
All right. Let's also state that we have simple basic rule on the headline news analysis. You have 60 seconds to make your comment, and you're absolutely free to criticize, but we'll appreciate it if there's some criticisms are constructive enough. Again, Danielle, just before we go ahead, on a lighter note though, you missed out something while you were bringing Nicholas on board.
Okay.
You didn't ask him how was the trip down here.
Oh.
My bad. How was your trip down here, Nicholas?
Well, there were so many things on my mind. First and foremost,
Okay.
Nigeria was trashed 4-0 yesterday.
It's a very disappointing one. I don't know.
Like, I just couldn't. What was wrong with those boys? I don't know. Sudan? No.
What do you mean, Sudan?
I mean, did you hear what Apia said? That is the Ghanaian coach.
Before the
match.
match. I read that.
There was this thing that struck me. He said, they are not that bad. That is, they are bad. It's... what was the point of all those training? Why did Shell take over? They could have left the two Nigerian coaches who were, that is Fidelisi Ilechukwu and Ogumodede, of Remo Stars. Those were the best coaches you have, because they have a handle on those boys, so they should have allowed them to continue. Eric Shell did not. I didn't see any technical depth in that team at all. 4-0. That's something.
And
then, of course, the second worry was, the Kwamtu, what they now dub as Kwamtu, the Ibom Air Saga.
Oh,
This is Kwamtu.
There is a new update. I don't know whether you've been following what has been happening.
Yes.
IGP.
There has been outrage, and I think that in the light of what we said yesterday, there is a need for listeners to be updated on apparently the way it looks now. It more look like it's a two-way thing now. Because a lot of the air hostess in Ibom Air have a lot of things to answer for. Because there is a new video that showed that actually when the girl wanted to go out, the air hostess blocked her, refused her, passage. I think it is beyond her responsibility to do that. She's not a security. The air hostess are not meant to be security operatives. You understand? The moment you have reported the matter to aviation security, you allowed them to
take over.
Yeah. So I believe that was where the aggravation started from. You understand? And I think they should bring them on. Have them, talk to the police too on their own side, because I know the girl will have one or two things to say. Then apart from that, there has been reaction from NBA. You understand? NBA has reacted, to the dehumanizing manner, the lady was treated. And a lot of people, the former minister of, sports, Barrister Solomon Dalong, you've equally weighed in on the matter and, raised issues on the double standards we're talking about. We're talking of Kwamwan, Aine Marshall, where was he let go? And of course, there has been responses from federal government that in both instances, a complaint was made. The Ibom Air made complaint about the lady, so the police had to come in. But in the case of Kwamwan, no complaint was made. And I think that's balderdash. Because you see, we are talking of a case of potential hijack. You don't need to make a complaint. It is very clear the video is there. So you just go there. The police is supposed to act on such things. You don't need a complaint.
Well, the latest is the police, IG has, stepped in and says, has ordered a full investigation, a full probe or investigation into the situation. So, of course, we can say now that, the police are on top of the situation.
Exactly.
Let's see the outcome. That's what Nigerians are, waiting for.
But there is no need for any outcome now. Kwamwan has come out to apologize for his actions. So that is like admitting to
what else does the police need to investigate?
They don't need to investigate anything at all. So that is, and that has been the point of this double standard thing we've been talking, that have been haunting, the fight against corruption, against impunity, against crime in the country. And, they have to get this right or let the girl go. So we know we have Kwan 1, Kwan 2.
All right, no qualms on that.
No qualms.
Well, away from that, those are some of the concerns, but nothing is distracting you, I guess, Nicola. So we can go right into the conversation, right? Okay, look, you can maintain eye contact with Danielle and myself, so don't turn to the right so that you don't get distracted.
What's on the right?
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's a screen.
Okay.
All right.
All right then. Let's get into the conversations that we have this morning. Let's start off with this one about the Labour Minister, Mohammed Ingadi, refuting allegations by the Nigeria Labour Congress that the newly approved National Industrial Relations Policy is intended to criminalize strikes. Now, this policy that was endorsed by the federal government on July 31st is designed to serve as a framework for minimizing industrial disputes and promoting stable labor relations through a structured dialogue among trade unions, the employers, and also government agencies. Now, the NLC is insisting that it had resisted earlier attempts to insert strike criminalizing clauses during the drafting stage. And the minister now has maintained as well that the policy's core objective is to strengthen cooperation and ensure peaceful engagement between workers and employers in line with global standards.
Well, let me say from the word go that I haven't looked at the policy document, and over time, if precedents have been anything to go by, there is this consistent manner in which federal government have been trying to circumscribe protests.
Strikes
the right to protest. So if that is anything to go by, I can understand the fears of NLC. And considering the fact that we're talking of a situation where the condition of workers is so poor and so bad, I think that shouldn't be the priority. Working out how you can have a tripartite relation, or where you can have a relationship, proper working relationship, when you haven't met with the proper conditions of living for workers. It's just like trying to, ensure that even if conditions are not okay, they can't complain. They can't bring you to the round table, and if you refuse, they go for what they know, how to do best, to make sure, that you listen to their, you listen to them. Ironically, yesterday I was writing a paper on, industrial relation. Industrial relationship, and one of the questions I was asked was, how do you prevent dictatorship in an organization? Industrial relations is about 3 layers. The workers, the employee, and of course the government. Is a tripartite thing. So what you try to do at every point in time is to ensure that one part is not overtly powerful in such a manner that it can override the rest too. You understand? So, you see, if the employer is becoming too powerful, then of course you have the regulatory framework, that is supervised by government to check him. Then if if the government is too, powerful, then of course both of them can join together and check government. So there should be that measure in such a way that there is not overbearing, all too powerful, party within the tripartite arrangement in such a way that it allows for balance. So if NLC is talking the way it's talking now, there is that fear that this thing will give too much power, to government to regulate strike. So, in fact, it's like criminalizing strike. That is what they are trying to say. And there is no way, a responsive and irresponsible, union leader is going to sit down and let that pass. No, it's not going to. It's not going to work. It's not going to work that way.
All right. Is this also not, an infringement of, constitutional right, fundamental
the right to
right?
protest.
Yes.
Exactly. That's is it? I can't remember. Is it Section 33? That allows. I can't remember, but the Constitution is explicit about your right to protest.
All right, let's take this call. Sorry about you. Okay, we lost it. 0807 777 9927 is number to call to make a comment this morning.
And let's quickly move on to another, story. But lastly on that, how do you think, do maybe young Nigerians now and even older Nigerians, we know what the situation used to be, before now. And of course, we'll just go back to talking about the Labour man himself, who is now a current city minister, Adams Oshomole, when he was a comrade at the time. And we saw how vibrant the Nigerian Labour Congress was. But over time now, we don't see, and of course, some young Nigerians might not even understand what the NLC stands for. And of course, with this development now, how do you explain it to younger people to understand that, well, this isn't what should be?
The thing is this, the labor union is essentially there to work in tandem with government to allow employers to allow for proper working conditions for workers. Now they have a lot of instruments with which to do that, which is one, negotiation. You understand? Negotiation. Then when they fail to act, they can go on strike.
That's the last resort.
And there are lots of laws that backs their action. And you have conventions like the ILO conventions that Nigeria is a signatory to. So in those days, because of, you have the incidents of, this Soviet Union, communism and the rest of them, it was a very big thing then. So most labor organizations are kind of affiliated in one way or the other, ideologically, the communist socialist, movement in the Soviet Union in those days. So, of course, that is where you have all this, solidarity songs, solidarity and the rest of them. So it's a kind of movement that sees to it that the ordinary man on the street is not neglected by government. But over time, there has been, it used to be we against them, but now there are there are so many factors. There are so many spin-offs, that has come from, the death of Soviet communist, movement. Because of that, you now have more of the privateers running all those institutions that government used to run before. That is the private sector. So it's about capitalism. It's about enterprise. So because enterprise is about creativity, so there is no way you can streamline it. So that is why it appears as if labor movement is weakening over the years. You understand? So, but then again, another factor is the politics. Most labor leaders see the union as a stepping stone into politics. And the moment you get into politics, of course, they know the rope very well. They know how they do things, so they know how to undermine their former colleagues. Now you have the case of Adams Oshomole as a governor now. Then you have a very good example is look at what happened in what's the name of this Michael Imudu Institute. Look at the current is it DG of is a comrade himself, Isaremu. But look at the industrial action that happened there. He was locked out. They had to bring the minister to come and mediate between him and so we are talking of somebody who has been there, who has been in the trenches. He couldn't even manage the place. So I, for one, was particularly surprised that he was, given the kind of noise that we had, all those and that he was even, reappointed by the president. So that it tells you that things are not as they used to be. It's not as black and white. So probably he got in there and discovered that things are no longer the way it used to be when they were there. So so that is what labor, movement used to be in those days, and this is what it is now. There are so many realities that have caught up with labor movement. Of course, like I said, privatization, intensive capitalism. Then, of course, politics. identity politics.
All right. Well, all of this stuff that you've highlighted, do you think, in the coming years we'll see a total exit of labor organizations, not just in Nigeria but across the world, because it does look like it is being weakened. It's a global thing. It's a global trend.
Yeah, it is a global trend. Because like I said, one thing that is going to that I think is going to work against labor is if there can be an agreement that you are paid as much as you work. You are paid as much as you work. You understand? That to a very large extent, because in most instances, when you even look at the labor movement themselves, it's more like a cover for very lazy workers. You understand? You see a lot of all these labor activists in terms of competence and capacity are almost zero. You understand? So, so those are some of the factors that are affecting them. Okay, let's take a very good example is the Nigerian civil service. If you ask me, there are a lot of dead woods there that have no business even been there. Because of the fact that, this man is affiliated to this politician and the rest of them, he gets called up to come and start working in a place where he's not even cut out to work. So you have, the moment you have that kind of a thing happening, people like that tend to look forward to strike with glee. Not minding the fact that it's costing a lot of, So if it's about delivering, that is being paid for what you work for, you understand, probably we won't be having this much of a strike that we are talking about, but if it's about competence, you understand. So unfortunately, in the private sector where you have people really working because there is enough supervision, you understand, unionism is not strike. Collective bargaining is not strong enough because it's so easy for the employer of labor to sack you and nothing will happen. You understand? So that is, these are some of the dynamics, that we are seeing in the labor movement,
All right, 0807-777-9927 is number to call to make a comment on the news stories that we have. Let's move to another one, though. The House of Representatives is pushing a bill to amend the 1999 Constitution and they're seeking to make the Court of Appeal the final authority in governorship election petitions, thereby eliminating the Supreme Court from the process. What do you think about that?
Well, really, you see, the merit of that proposal is so that you can save time.
Okay.
And most of these instances, if you have count 1 to 10 cases that have made it to Supreme Court ruling, it's always, you find that at least 9 of them has been decided in favor of the person who won the original election. That is number. So it tells you that, look, it's a waste of time on the first instance, and then secondly, it creates distraction for the person that is there. But I think that even the Court of Appeal thing, if there is a way they can make it in such a way before the governor, that is the governor elect is sworn in, I think it is better. I think you have that case in the House of Rep and Senate thing. I think it terminates at that appellate level. So, but for governorship, well, the politicians are very smart animals. They have a way of going around things like that. If it's a constitutional issue and not purely an electoral matter? There is a way they could weave that, their grounds on constitutional related matter, and it has to go to the Supreme Court. You understand? So, to a very large extent, I think, for me, I think it tells more on the judiciary's ability to dispense justice. You understand? Because, at the end of the day, you discover that the man who wins the election, either by hook or crook, is the one that is the process favors at the end of the day. You understand? And of course, look at the case of the Edo State. The thing is, even though we are not lawyers, we are not judges, but you look at the things that you are seeing, the facts that stares you in the eye, you kind of look at it. How were the case pleaded? How were they decided? It raises a lot of questions. So whether it is to the Supreme Court or the Appeal Court, for me, the only positives out of it is that, just making the death quicker. Just make it quick, and getting over with. That is just the merit of it, so that the moment it is at the appellate court, it is decided, then the life can go on. But the most important thing is that unless we clean up our electoral matters, you understand? Unless we clean out our electoral matter, we are clean out our that is the electioneering process, we will still always have this recourse to go to judiciary. Ghana had an election now. We are not hearing anything about people going to courts all over the places. So what's the name of Senegal? Had a very heated and explosive election. There is nothing like people going to court. So why must it be in Nigeria that we're having all this kind of, and we have taken it as a fact of life? It is not normal. What is so difficult about people deciding who is going to be their leader? You understand? So, I mean, it's, for me, it's neither here nor there. But if the intention is to make sure that the time people spend in court is shortened, then it's a very good law. But it doesn't in any way, it's not about dispensing justice as far as I'm concerned.
All right, so what becomes of the justices at the Supreme Court level? So what matters do they handle then? Because again, if you look at some of these tribunal issues, it is what the judgments at the appeal court level is what the Supreme Court will sit on.
Exactly. You see, then maybe there is another good side to it. The Supreme Court has been made to look so ordinary. That is the truth. When we were growing up in those days, a matter in the Supreme Court, you rarely hear of it. You understand? Because that is the highest echelon of justice apart from the Almighty. You understand? That is the highest,
So much
I mean. So, you see, those people, the Supreme Court justices, are even rarely seen outside. You don't hear them talk. The moment, if they make one single comment, it reverberates everywhere. But now, it is so ordinary. So ordinary up to the point that at some point, a Supreme Court justice, the CJN, was removed over trumped-up charges. You understand? So, this is the extent to which we have ridiculed, the judicial system. So maybe stopping it at the appellate court would at least maybe insulate in the Supreme Court a little bit from all the mess that comes with electionary, election jurisprudence. Maybe that might just be another good thing that will come out of it.
All right, lastly on that, so if that applies to the governorship, maybe just in case, if at all, the presidential will be handled up to the Supreme Court level.
Exactly, definitely. It has to be.
Okay.
It has to be.
All
yeah.
Right. 0807 777 9927 0807 777 9927. Away from that, let's move on to another story this morning, and it has to do with the Nigerian health sector, where the sector is a lot of issues because some top problems: infrastructure, decay, port service delivery, despite securing World Bank, loans, and of course, interventions, grants here and there. Now, the medical experts are questioning the impact of the World Bank funding on Nigeria's healthcare system. If you look at that, the report says, in the last 9 years, the sector has borrowed over $111.29 million in grants. That's in grants, pardon me, over the past 9 years. Now, medical association and state officials are criticizing the impact of these interventions as minimal, citing slow disbursements, weak governance, poor remuneration for health workers. And of course, the question is, with all of these grants and interventions, where has it left the Nigerian health sector?
To say that it hasn't impacted somewhat on the health sector is like... denying. Actually, the Nigerian health sector breathes. That is, as poor as it is right now, is heavily reliant on,
grants.
Of course. Is heavily reliant on it. Now, have you noticed the problem that is going on in HIV, AIDS, antiretroviral?
Please, let me butch you there. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
What is your name and where you calling
my
from?
name is Richard. I'm calling from Offa.
Richard from Offa. Please go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, on the issue of governorship appeal, starting at appeal court, that's not the most important thing we need now. Nigeria needs to have a transparent election. In most nations, before the Electoral Commission announced the result, people already know the winner. They have seen the results and know the winner. You can't change it. If there has such a thing in Nigeria, there will be less litigation. In Nigeria now, this electoral issue is a money-making venture for most judicial officers at the moment. So whether it's not at appeal court or Supreme Court, it makes no difference. Let's have electoral reform so that people will be sure that they voted and it counts. And secondly, let all electoral matters be resolved before the person is sworn in. You have 3 months from the day of election to swearing in. So you can resolve all electoral issues before the person is sworn in. That will help us more. Then on the labor issue, I don't know why government would like to maybe do anything that will make people find it difficult to talk. We saw a case where the NLC chairman was arrested and accused of several things because they were agitating for some. Now the case has died down because they are no longer agitating. So this government should not make Nigerians to begin to fear them, to begin to be afraid of speaking. We are still in a democracy. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, his last the last part of his comments it also resonates the situation in the United States where the U.S. Vice President is accusing the UK government of denying free speech. Yeah, exactly. Denying the citizens free speech. Yeah, just is exactly what Richard is talking about.
I think it's a global thing, because of for me this is. Maybe it is a little bit personal. I think ultra-liberalism has done a lot of damage to our values. This allowing of so many, so people now tend to, government now tend to want to clamp down on anything that, that they can't control. They don't seem to understand, So it's a weird world out there right now.
But what's the line between, having free speech or freedom generally and then public safety? How do you control that? What's the balance to it?
Well, you see, the thing is this. You can speak your mind without hurting the sensibility of another person. You understand? I'm free to say, you make me feel bad, rather than say you are bad. Those are two different things. You understand? I'm saying that there are certain actions that gives me the impression that you are bad. You understand? So that is where you need to draw the line. You understand? But a situation where you are not even allowed to say, this is how I feel about certain thing. That is muzzling of free speech. You understand? And we keep on saying it. The issue of the cybercrime law that the Nigerian police and other security agencies choose to selectively enforce is where the problem lies. There is, in fact, as a matter of fact, the ECOWAS court already ruled that law is illegal. So, and, like what I'm saying on radio right now, all I need to get into trouble is if I see it if I pick it on, I put it on Facebook and just circulate it. So I could be summoned that I'm cyberbullying somebody if I have mentioned somebody here. That is all that is all, even though it's a case of enlightening people and giving precedence, and this is how this thing appears to me because I have a qualified privilege as a journalist, to comment on such things. You understand? But you see, you that is what is happening right now. Because of that seeming ambiguity in the law, the authority tend to choose the side that suits them to beat down on free speech.
All right. We're still talking about free speech because of our time. Let's quickly, can we bring in the situation of the copper, Raye, who has this, well, we don't even know.
Exactly.
Is that a case, or from the side the government is looking at it that, well, you're absolutely free to say something, but, measure your words and so that your words don't hurt the next person. The words coming from the young girl, did he hurt the government?
No, you see, that is the point. You see, Raye complained, about what she's legitimately has the right to complain about. That things are not going on well. That Lagos is smelly. That you said you were going to, the price of foodstuff. That you said you were going to give core members some 7,000, is it?
And at that time,
and at that time they hadn't paid. You understand? These are within her rights. It's not as if saying, President, you are this X, Y, and Z. that is a personal attack on the president, and the president can decide to take it up. But again, you must understand that the mere fact that he is the president, he has submitted himself to public scrutiny. That is what it means. You understand? So you cannot, at the end of the day, you see, that was why I said what I said the other day, that that issue of biometrics, for me, it is just bold dash. You understand? And it has been proven, that he was actually there. They refused to screen him.
All right. Now we have a couple of messages on from Facebook and on WhatsApp as well. Good morning, everyone. This is really interesting. This is from the Kwam1 issue. This is really interesting. But like our analyst said, we would see more of these things happening for a while. But K1 has made the issue an interesting story and a headline for everyone to want to comment on it. And for the lady, Comfort Emerson, did he need to mishandle her and harass her in that way? We need to watch our head hostesses' attitudes and approach to customer service. Also, our politics need to be reoriented. The mind and brain of the citizens have to be reoriented on politics. But since the election process is always done with inconsistencies, may God help and bless Nigeria. I've always thought that terrorism is an attack of a country or state by armed men, as portrayed by the headlines during the first massive incidents. But look at what Kwam1 did and what you've said as well. Another comment from Facebook says, this is Dr. Mrs. Umar from Owerri. She says, this is Nigeria, the theater good and bad, seen and unseen, the heard and unheard. This is Nigeria, the land of plenty in the midst of scarcity, real saints and alternate demons. Nigeria is a nation of builders and wreckers alike, the noble and ignoble, leaders and dealers, governors and rulers. It's a nation of looters and national treasury and the wretched. A nation with high ambition but low motion.
Thank you, Doctor.
Always deep.
Oh, very, very, very deep. Thank you very much for your comments, Dr. Mrs. Umar Libara. Our time is fast spent. Thank you so much for joining us on the Headline News Analysis today. We'll be back to your ears tomorrow, God willing, from 8 o'clock to 8:30 as well. I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey.
And I am Dayo Adeyemi. Well, Nicholas, you're absolutely not free to turn to your right.
Okay.
Look at the screen, is it?
It's your right.
All right,
so you can turn to the right. We'll see you tomorrow again.
Okay.
Here to light up the city, 92.7, go with the flow. Feel your day with us.
We've never achieved anything from the subsidy removal. Instead, everything is going higher, fuel up, food stuff is striking up.
Look at us now, there is nothing, we are starving.
As you can see, there is no light, and it makes us to lose customer.
The government really needs to redefine its security architecture.
Every day, Nigerians get up to complain of one thing or the other about the affairs of the country. From poor electricity to insecurity, healthcare, education, and the economy. This is not to say some level of progress is not being recorded, but how much of the impact is felt by the people? Do you have an opinion or comments to share about the current situation in Nigeria? Your Go with the Flow station, FlowFM 92.7, has provided a platform for you to have your say every Friday from 10 to 10:30 a.m. Say it the way you feel it.